GMNA uses artificial intelligence for generated speech, visuals, and production. AI-generated content may contain errors. Please verify important information before making decisions or taking action.
Good evening, Montreal. Tonight we'll break down a shocking 208 kilometers per hour speed chase in Laval, talk about gas climbing near $2 a liter, and give you the latest on traffic delays from road closures. Plus, Skybird Asian Grill's new spot is opening downtown. Over to you, Emma.
CBC Music just announced Quebec's 30 classical musicians under 30, showcasing emerging violinists, pianists, and composers, with summer performances scheduled across the province's concert halls.
The selection was made by a panel of industry experts, and each artist will appear in a televised concert series beginning next month, highlighting Montreal's vibrant classical community.
Listeners can stream the full roster on CBC Music's website, where detailed biographies, rehearsal clips, and upcoming recital dates are freely available for anyone interested in new talent.
Montreal's cultural scene shines tonight, and we're ready to dive in. Lots to get to. Let's begin for our broadcast. Good evening, Montreal. Police halted a 21-year-old driver this afternoon after radar caught the vehicle traveling at 208 kilometers per hour on the Autoroute 25 in Laval. The Sûreté du Québec, which patrols the highways surrounding the island, said the speed was more than double the posted limit. Officers pulled the driver over, issued a citation, and seized the vehicle pending further investigation. The incident underscores the province's ongoing campaign to curb extreme speeding, a factor in many serious collisions on the island's road network. No injuries were reported, and the driver remains in custody pending a court appearance. The Sûreté reminded motorists that automated speed enforcement devices are active throughout the network and that violations carry substantial fines and possible license suspension. The driver's license was immediately suspended, and the case will be forwarded to the provincial court for adjudication.
Quebec Provincial Police have dismantled a covert laboratory in the city that was churning out counterfeit passports and forged birth certificates. The raid, carried out in early July, seized printing equipment, falsified documents, and arrest warrants for several suspects linked to a broader network supplying fraudulent identity papers across the province. Investigators say the operation uncovered a sophisticated setup capable of producing high-quality travel documents, raising concerns about potential misuse in illegal immigration and criminal activities. Police spokesperson announced that the seized materials will be examined for links to other criminal groups, and that additional arrests are expected as the investigation expands. The crackdown follows months of surveillance and coordination among provincial and federal agencies aimed at curbing identity fraud. Officials reminded travelers and businesses to verify the authenticity of any identification presented, citing recent cases where forged papers had been used to secure employment and housing.
Gasoline costs across the province have surged steadily since February, now hovering near $2 per liter in the city. Canadian fuel analysts trace the climb to escalating tensions in the Middle East and other volatile regions, which have tightened global oil markets. Prices began the year at roughly $1.5 per liter and have risen through a series of adjustments, each pushing drivers farther from the pump. Since February, the province has logged at least 4 distinct hikes, each reflecting ripple effects from constrained global supply. The latest increase recorded this week pushes the average cost to almost $2, marking the highest level seen this summer. Officials warn the upward trend may continue as geopolitical uncertainty persists, leaving commuters to absorb higher expenses on a daily basis. Industry experts advise monitoring further market signals as the situation develops.
Montreal's mayor has voiced serious doubts about a proposed tidal energy project slated for the St. Lawrence River near the city's old port. The plan, put forward by ARECOR Energy, calls for the installation of tidal turbines as early as 2027. Mayor Sorja Martinez Ferrada said she questions the relevance of the project and its alignment with municipal priorities. She emphasized that any development on the river must undergo thorough review and meet the city's environmental and economic criteria. ARECOR Energy has not yet responded to the mayor's concerns. The proposal remains in the planning stage, with no construction scheduled pending further assessment. The mayor's statements come as the city prepares for upcoming discussions on the project's feasibility and potential impact on the waterfront. The initiative is part of a provincial effort to increase clean power generation. City officials will review the environmental impact study before any permits are issued.
The province announced that its captive caribou herd grew after 16 newborn fawns were recorded in May. Officials said the births mark a modest but encouraging rise in a population carefully managed for conservation. The program, run by the Quebec government, keeps the animals in a protected enclosure where veterinary staff monitor health and breeding. The births were confirmed at the Wildlife Center near the Saguenay region, where the herd resides. Researchers noted the new calves bring the herd's total to a level that supports future reintroduction plans aimed at bolstering wild herds across the north. Conservationists hope the increased numbers will allow a small group to be released into a protected corridor later this decade, providing a genetic boost to dwindling wild populations. The success reflects ongoing investment in habitat preparation and genetic diversity, both key to the long-term goal of restoring caribou numbers in the province's boreal forests. Coming up, we'll break down Premier Freichette's meeting with Newfoundland's WACAM and PEI and what it means for Quebec's energy. We will be right back.
If you run a venue, a comedy night, a concert, a fundraiser, you already know the hardest part isn't the show. It's selling the seats. Theaterfiller changes that. In minutes, you're set up with your own ticketing page, QR code delivery, and a door scanner. No technical headaches, no middleman taking a cut of your night. Your event, your tickets, your revenue. Go to theaterfiller.com and fill every seat.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm glad you stayed with us. Let's turn to Emma Leclerc for the local stories that matter to Montreal.
Premier François-Philippe Freichette is headed to Prince Edward Island today for a high-stakes meeting with Newfoundland and Labrador Premier Tony WACAM. The two leaders will sit down during the Council of the Federation gathering to hammer out a fresh energy pact focused on the long-standing Churchill Falls hydroelectric project. Officials say the talks aim to reshape the power-sharing framework that has governed the massive water-driven facility for decades, potentially affecting electricity rates and supply across the province. While details remain under wraps, the meeting signals a willingness to revisit agreements that date back to the 1970s. Both premiers are expected to bring provincial energy ministries into the dialogue, adding technical expertise to the negotiations. Industry analysts note that any shift could ripple through local markets, influencing everything from household heating bills to regional development plans. We'll keep you posted as the discussion unfolds.
Environment Canada has placed multiple southern and western Quebec regions under a severe thunderstorm watch, warning that intense rain later today could spark flash flooding. Meteorologists say the storm system is expected to bring downpours strong enough to overwhelm drainage in low-lying neighborhoods, roadways, and small streams. Residents in the affected zones are being advised to keep an eye on water levels, especially near creeks and underpasses, as sudden rises can make travel hazardous. Commuters using low-lying streets should allow time, since water can pool quickly at intersections. Parents with school-age children are urged to verify routes for closures. Outdoor plans such as yard work, gardening, or weekend outings may need to be postponed if conditions worsen. Small businesses near flood-prone areas could face interruptions. The agency will continue to monitor the situation and issue updates as the weather evolves, emphasizing that the watch remains in effect until rain subsides.
Local mushroom growers have just opened Quebec's first commercial morel farm, turning a prized wild delicacy into a year-round harvest. The venture, which began early this morning, uses specially designed beds to replicate the forest conditions morels need, allowing steady production without the uncertainty of foraging trips. For home cooks and restaurant chefs alike, the new supply promises fresher, locally sourced mushrooms at market stalls and farm-to-table menus. Residents who have long chased elusive morels in the woods can now pick them straight from the farm's rows, reducing the need for long hikes and protecting natural habitats. The growers say the operation will expand as demand grows, offering a reliable source for a mushroom that has traditionally been a seasonal treasure. The farm is already shipping its first batches to nearby grocery outlets.
Yesterday, CBC Music unveiled its annual 30 Under 30 roster, spotlighting 30 emerging classical musicians from across Quebec. The list, released on July 20th, showcases young talent ranging from virtuoso violinists to innovative composers, all still under the age of 30. For families and music lovers in the province, the announcement offers a fresh lineup of performers likely to appear in local concert halls, school recitals, and community festivals in the months ahead. CBC Music highlighted the artists' recent achievements, such as debut performances with regional orchestras and collaborations with contemporary ensembles. The initiative, now in its 8th year, aims to give listeners a glimpse of the next generation shaping Quebec's classical scene, and may inspire more attendance at upcoming chamber music series and youth concerts throughout the area for everyone.
The province is battling the most severe spruce budworm outbreak in half a century. Forest officials report that roughly 17.6 million hectares of timberland are currently under attack, as swarms of the insect defoliate spruce and fir trees across the region. While budworm cycles have historically scarred Quebec's woods, this year's population surge has triggered damage on a scale not seen in 50 years. Researchers say the massive larval numbers are overwhelming natural predators and existing control measures, prompting calls for expanded aerial pesticide applications and increased monitoring. The infestation threatens not only the ecological balance of the boreal forest, but also the timber industry that supplies jobs to many families. Outdoor enthusiasts are also seeing trail closures as damaged stands become unsafe. As the situation unfolds, authorities continue to assess the spread and evaluate long-term forest management strategies.
Let's check your evening outlook and see what the night sky has in store.
A deepening low and a swift southwest jet are loading the evening with a rapid rain burst. On this date, the all-time high for Montreal stands at 31.1 degrees Celsius, recorded in 2018 during a persistent heat dome that pushed temperatures across southern Quebec into the mid-30s. The all-time low is 13.7 degrees, set in 2025 when an Arctic surge slipped far south, delivering a brief but sharp chill. By contrast, the climate normal high hovers around 27 degrees and the normal low near 18, leaving today's 27 peak comfortably below the record, yet well above average. The live radar shows a compact echo marching westward across the south shore, already brushing the island's eastern boroughs. At 6 p.m., the core is centered over Longueuil, moving toward downtown at roughly 15 kilometers per hour. Heaviest returns will hit the city around 7 p.m., then taper off by 9 p.m. as the band dissipates into the St. Lawrence. The rest of the map remains dry, confirming a stable air mass beyond the low. At 6 p.m. Montreal sits under an overcast sky with a temperature of 24 degrees, humidity near 50%, and a southeast wind gusting up to 58 kilometers per hour. A deepening low pressure is pulling the jet stream overhead at 131 kilometers per hour from the southwest, injecting strong mid-level lift that fuels the approaching rain band. The UV index reads 4, and wind will peak around 35 kilometers per hour from the south as the system intensifies. Heavy rain will arrive at 7 p.m., dropping temperatures to 22 by 9, then clearing as the low drifts eastward. A severe thunderstorm watch is active for the entire island and surrounding regions, so remain alert to rapid gusts and possible hail. With the rain exiting, the night will settle into a cool 18-degree low before sunrise. Looking ahead, Wednesday brings a clear sky and a high near 20 degrees with a low of 12, a modest dip after today's rain. Thursday remains dry, warming to 23 while lows hold at 13, a quiet stretch under the same southwest jet. Friday continues the steady rise to 25 and 16, still clear as the high-pressure ridge builds eastward. Saturday introduces overcast conditions and a high of 28, low 18, as a lingering moisture plume skirts the lake effect corridor. Sunday snaps back to sunshine, reaching 29 with an 18-degree night, the warmest night of the period. The sequence shifts from a cooling mid-week trough to a strengthening ridge, delivering a dry, progressively warmer weekend. And that's your weather. Remember, the local sunset is also available as a podcast. Listen anytime on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts.
Up next, traffic snarls linger, the Canadians' trade news heats up, and Skybird Asian Grill's new Montreal location delights diners. We will be right back.
If you run a venue, a comedy night, a concert, a fundraiser, you already know the hardest part isn't the show. It's selling the seats. Theaterfiller changes that. In minutes, you're set up with your own ticketing page, QR code delivery, and a door scanner. No technical headaches. No middleman taking a cut of your night. Your event, your tickets, your revenue. Go to theaterfiller.com and fill every seat.
A major northbound closure on Curateau Street between Notre Dame and Hochelaga forces drivers onto a detour via Joseph Versailles Boulevard. Add 10 to 15 minutes to your trip, particularly during peak hour. In the east, truck traffic is prohibited on Honoré-Mercier Bridge while structural repairs continue, so heavy vehicles must use the alternate crossing at Champlain. The Louis-Hippolyte Lafontaine Tunnel runs contraflow, with northbound lanes closed for refurbishment. Southbound traffic remains open but at reduced speed. The contraflow is expected to stay in place through this evening, so plan alternate routes if you're heading downtown. Eastbound commuters in Ville-Marie Tunnel should anticipate 2-lane closures between Robert Bourassa and St. Laurent, and the same reduction applies on St. Urbain Street overpass. Partial lane closures on First Avenue affect the stretch between St. Laurent and St. Denis, so keep an eye on the signs. Transit service remains normal with no reported delays. Allow extra minutes and stay alert for signage.
Looks like the calendar is quiet today, but stay tuned. There's plenty of festivals, concerts, and community happenings on the horizon that will light up Montreal this week. And now here's Jason with sports.
Here's the latest on Montreal's hockey headlines and upcoming action. The Canadiens kick off the 2026-27 campaign on the road, traveling to Toronto for an all-Canadian opening night on Sept 29 per CBC Sports NHL. The Leafs will host, while the Oilers and Canucks face off later that evening. Montreal has dealt forward Brendan Gallagher to Vancouver, receiving future considerations in return, according to CBC Sports NHL. The move reshapes the Canadiens' forward depth as the Canucks add a veteran scorer ahead of training camp. The Canadiens have dealt forward Brendan Gallagher to the Vancouver Canucks in exchange for future considerations. The move, announced late June, marks a roster shift as Montreal parts ways with the veteran winger, while Vancouver adds depth to its forward group. An international sports firm has injected $30 million into the Northern Super League, the Canadian women's professional soccer competition now in its second season, supporting its 6-team structure spanning Vancouver, Calgary, Halifax, Montreal, Toronto, and Ottawa. The Canadiens have dealt forward Brendan Gallagher to the Vancouver Canucks in exchange for future considerations, a move confirmed on June 29 that reshapes Montreal's forward depth and adds a veteran presence to Vancouver's roster as the off-season progresses.
Skybird Asian Grill in downtown Montreal just opened its 4th location at 2183 St. Catherine Street West. The fast casual spot lets diners build their own Asian-inspired bowls or grab a banh mi, blending bold flavors with the speed of city life. The new space with its open kitchen and community table adds a vibrant gathering point to the bustling St. Catherine corridor, giving office workers and students a fresh lunch option just steps from the metro. This expansion not only deepens Skybird's foothold in the downtown dining scene, it signals confidence in the neighborhood's growth and its appetite for diverse, affordable cuisine. It's a reminder that Montreal's culinary spirit thrives when local innovators keep feeding the city's rhythm. And now a heartwarming look at Quebec's captive caribou herd, which just welcomed 16 newborn fawns, brightening our winter landscape.
If you run a venue, a comedy night, a concert, a fundraiser, you already know the hardest part isn't the show. It's selling the seats. Theaterfiller changes that. In minutes, you're set up with your own ticketing page, QR code delivery, and a door scanner. No technical headaches. No middleman taking a cut of your night. Your event, your tickets, your revenue. Go to theaterfiller.com and fill every seat.
In the heart of the plateau, on a crisp early evening boulevard shaded by trembling maples, a modest crowd gathered outside the community center as the fire season volunteers lowered their helmets for the night. The scent of pine mingled with fresh coffee from a nearby cafe, and a handful of children waved handmade thank you cards to the firefighters who had spent weeks battling the blaze that stretched across the province's northern woods. SOPFEU's latest report, read aloud by a calm voice on the community radio, confirmed that the number of active fire fronts had dropped dramatically over the past week. The data was more than a statistic. It was the sound of sirens fading, of smoke clearing from the sky that had once glowed orange over the St. Lawrence shoreline. When the lead captain, a veteran of the season, stepped forward and placed a single soot-blackened twig into a wooden box, the crowd felt the weight lift. It marked not only a day's triumph, but the promise that the forest's emerald canopy would soon reclaim its quiet rhythm. We'll keep watching the horizon, confident that the fire's retreat brings brighter mornings for all of us.
In a Huntsic, on a street lined with maple trees, a duplex became the center of a hopeful chapter for the Bouchard family. After months of uncertainty, the Quebec Housing Tribunal issued its ruling on September 1st, allowing most members of the household to finally move into the 2-bedroom home they have long called their own. While the case lingered, the family lived out of a car and set up a makeshift camp in the driveway, their evenings lit by a single lantern and the sound of children humming lullabies. Yesterday, volunteers from a local community center arrived with boxes of fresh paint, soft blankets, and a small kitchen table, turning the once bare hallway into a space that smells of pine and beginnings. The youngest son, 10, ran his fingers over the cool plaster and whispered, "It's really ours now," a moment that captured the relief felt by everyone gathered. Tonight, as they unpack the last suitcase, the Bouchards are not just moving into a house, they are stepping into stability, surrounded by neighbors who have stood by them every step of the way. This is a reminder that community can turn a hard road into a home.
Thank you, Montreal, for joining us on the local sunset. Tonight's look at the police shutdown of a fake passport operation reminded us how vigilance protects our community. We'll be back tomorrow with more stories that matter to you. Until then, stay safe and enjoy the evening.